Eldred asked you have to dry the lashes after cleansing.
No, actually, in fact, water is good, so moisture is helpful to the whole appointment. And part of the reason why we do the water scrub even throughout the appointment is because water will open up the follicles of the hair shaft a little bit and create more porosity. So I never dry the lashes. Having the paper towel behind the brush and absorbing excess water is enough. She's not even wet anymore probably, but our humidity is 36 in here right now, and like I said earlier on live, I've been using nothing but low humidity, so I'm gonna go ahead and use Brilliant's low humidity Onyx adhesive right now. I just put 1 drop into this adhesive well. That's probably gonna last me quite a bit. If I'm doing a longer day, I'll definitely put 2 or 3 drops, and that'll last me all day, but it's a way to really extend the life of your adhesive by using these wells in particular. So I'm gonna get my Precision Straights here. Mystic Topaz to match my nails. Love these. So one thing to know for sure is you wanna have your hands always secured on their head. So if you decide to wear gloves or put a headband on, that's up to you, but I kind of like my skin to skin contact here. And then you're gonna wanna be able to get through the lashes to the iPad, but really close to the base of her eyelid. And this is how I isolate. I actually comb upwards. I never push to the side. Pushing to the side creates a lot of potential for sticking together. I'm always lashing, approaching the eyelashes from as close to her eyelid as possible, and not too high so I can't see. I'm usually sitting above my tweezers a little bit, but you wanna come in so that basically when you do isolate, you are really, really close to the base, because you wanna make sure that not even any baby lashes are getting stuck into the situation. So for inner corners, again, first of all, most importantly is the setup. So if your iPads are ready to go, then basically it's nothing is different from isolating in an inner corner versus the middle of the lash. You have to adjust your tweezer angle to always be like, basically, I always say that the ends of my tweezers are like wheels on a car. And if they're little cars, this is their little highway. So they always have to be kind of on the highway. They should never be like doing a, what do you call that, a wheelie? And I see that a lot. I see a lot of lash artists trying to isolate, but their tweezers are at an angle like this. And if you could see, this side of my tweezer isn't officially isolating because it should be down here. So you really have to check yourself on your tweezer angle, and I call this a tweezer twist. So this is the twist. The angle is kind of where you're at, like this way or this way. And so coming in as deep as possible will allow you to get the inner corners. The opposite of your dominant hand is usually more difficult, but it's really a matter of shifting your body and making conscious efforts to twist your tweezers in the right way, or and have the angle correct. The other part that might be difficult is applying the lash. So just stay right there. The more you move, the blurrier it gets. I mean, it's hard to tell now, but. So I'm gonna get some adhesive on this little lash here. So the thing is that it's hard to sometimes get into some of these corners, but you just develop more wrist agility the more that you do it. So that's an inner corner there. You'll see that I would highly recommend to train yourself to keep your pinkies in contact with your forehead, because you can manipulate the skin a lot while you're working if your pinky is there. So I catch myself kind of pulling the skin back a lot. And so I'm gonna go ahead and push forward. And then I use my pinky as stability a lot of the times to apply the lash. And I'm gonna do a little shimmy. I'm gonna stop at a safe distance from the base of her skin there. I'm gonna make sure that it's straight. You're gonna always make sure that their eyelashes are straight up and down. So I never work too close together. You know, I wanna go pretty distant from the last lash that I lashed. It's highly recommended to just go back and forth eye to eye too. But you create a nice frame, and you want to make sure that they're always going to walk out looking even. Even if you only put 5 lashes on each eye, they should be all evenly spaced apart. Like that. And then you'll kind of continue to work in all of the gaps between the extensions. Oh, so the other thing I didn't talk about that I'm supposed to talk about is taping the lids back. So I find that I tape the lids back pretty inconsistently. I think it depends on the client and depends even on the day for the client. The client's skin's gonna change kind of like with her cycle and things like that. And I only emphasize that because some people actually find it kind of they're offended when you tape their lids back if you haven't taped them back before. So I like to ensure them that it's just normal, that some days you have to tape lash lids back, some days you don't. So here's a couple different strategies for taping. If you want to tape the whole lid back, then what I do is I grab a little bit longer than I would for my iPad prep, and I rip this in half, so I have 2 pieces. And then I go from the outer corners and I create a little X. So I'm going to her outer corner. I'm gonna go over her eyebrow because I don't really need to adhere anything there, and then tape to her forehead. And then I'm gonna anchor in the inner, and I'm gonna go this way. So that has like a general tug. The inner and outer corners are lifted and the middle is lifted just enough. If you are just struggling with the inner corner and it's just everyone's anatomy is different, sometimes you get one iPad on better than the other too. What I'll do is usually I like a little thinner pieces of tape. So I might take a half a tape it to the inner corner and really just kind of go parallel and go outwards like that. And that's a way to pull specifically the inner corner towards you. Sometimes taping, in my opinion, makes it harder if their lashes are already perky enough, and they're coming back towards you too much. Then the tough part is really making sure that you're marrying up the angle of the lash with the direction of their lashes. So now that her lashes are pointing towards me so much, I actually have to make sure that when I come in and adhere that the extension is at this angle, where before it was more this angle. And you have to remember that matching up the angle of the base here is so important to getting a strong base in the right place. So the only other thing I wanted to definitely show you was, if you're curious, if you're going by that 2 millimeter rule of recommendation on what to lash somebody and you're just not sure how long their lashes are, then pull out an extension and measure it next to one of their natural lashes. So here's a lash in the middle of her emphasis area, and here is a 11 millimeter B curl. So that's actually about 2 millimeters longer than that natural lash is right there. I chose a 12, which is a little bit longer, only just because I know that she can handle a couple of those on her outer corner there. And also one thing to remember is the longest lashes, you really shouldn't continue to put on past like this point here, because I see a lot of lash artists who, if you're using up to 12 and you carry them all the way to the end, these lashes start to look really heavy because they're weaker. So make sure if you're gonna do like up to 12, and I'm gonna probably put my 12s like in this area, I'm gonna go back down to 11, 10, and 9 at the very outer corner. So that's just a little tip for outer corners. And that's about it for live today. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. Happy Friday.